I've been working from home long before the situation ever happened. Yeah, but there's a reason why most people, when they have the option to work from home, choose to work from a co-working space or a cafe. Of course, this is not possible right now, and this is where these 10 work from home tips come in. So my name is Michael Smolsky. This is the Pato and Michael YouTube channel, and this is a freelance series. A lot of people right now are already incredible at what they do. The issue is most people don't know how to do the little things, such as send the right email, how to pitch correctly, how to find the right people to email. And in this series, we cover that. But in this first episode, we're actually talking about the work from home tips, because most people right now are working from home. So the first thing you need to get right when working from home is your workspace. You need a dedicated workspace. You know, being at home does give you the opportunity to work from a bed or a couch. And while that seems great in theory, in reality, that's something you definitely should avoid. Our brain picks up patterns, and you know, what do you do on a couch? You watch Netflix, you watch some sports. If you decide to work on a couch, your brain is gonna be thinking about that subconsciously or not. And if, you know, you might restrict yourself for an hour or 2, 3 hours, maybe a day or two, but eventually you will choose that option of Netflix. And that's why it's so important to have a dedicated workspace just for work, because your brain will link that with work. It will make you more productive. Tip number 2 is to mimic work environment sounds with sound. What's the thing that's the most missing in your home compared to work? It's the sounds. You know, if you're in the office, you hear the office sounds. You know, I prefer to listen to cafe sounds. I like to listen to people talk. I like that little coffee sound, machine noise. Sounds play such an important role in our lives, and we often don't even think about it. Like in the previous tip, you know, our brain picks up patterns. You know, if we hear work sounds, we automatically are more in the work mode, and that allows us to work better. Tip 3 is going to sound a bit weird, but once you see the stats, it's going to make a lot of sense. See, people spend around 48% of their day, of their work day, replying to emails. I think that's absolutely crazy. There's no way on earth that we should be spending that much time on emails. So there's 2 tips for this. Number 1 is to have a set time to reply to emails. Most people just, you know, they see an email, they're like, okay. You know, that's not a good way to go about it. You should have a schedule for your emails. You know, you should be replying to the emails at a certain time. Every time you get distracted, you lose focus for around 23 minutes. People that reply to emails at a certain time get so much more emails sent, and they're so much more effective at it because you're doing a similar group of tasks at the same time. And tip number 2 is to use email tracking data. To optimize your email writing, you need to know which emails work better than others. That way you can optimize the emails you currently send and make sure they're the best possible, meaning you have to send less follow-ups because no replies, and that your emails are overall more successful. The issue with emailing is that you actually don't know what happens with your email after you press on send, which actually also results in you being less productive because you're thinking about what happened to the email, why is someone not responding, and so on. But most importantly, you don't have any data about what you can do better. And this is where mail tracking extensions like MailTag come in, which allow you to track your emails and the links that are in the emails, allowing you to have data that gives you insights into which emails do better, into which emails don't. You know, you'll see how many times your email was opened, how many times the link was clicked on. You will see what is working, what isn't working, and that will allow you to save a ton of time on your emails. Instead of spending that 48% of your workday, maybe you'll be spending 25%. Tip number 4 is to block out distractions. You know, when you're working from home, you have a boss looking out to make sure you're doing what you're meant to be doing. At home, you're on your own. And while that might seem like it's great, there's also a little voice in your head. It's like, okay, how about one little episode of this TV show? And, you know, is it ever really one episode? The shows are great these days. Is it ever really going to be one episode? It generally is going to be a binge watch of an entire season. And this is where you have to keep yourself accountable. by eliminating distractions. And here's the thing, I wouldn't trust you to do it yourself. I don't trust myself. Why? We shouldn't trust ourselves to do this, because while we may hold out for an hour or two, eventually it will get to us. And generally when it gets to us, you're gonna end up wasting a full work day. And that will make your work day the next day harder and the next day after that, because now you have so much extra work to do. And this is where extensions like Freedom or Stay Focused come in as apps, kind of that block out apps that you don't want to be using at a specific time. Stay Focused is more of a simpler extension. It blocks out websites. Meanwhile, Freedom, it's more of an advanced tool. It also blocks out apps on your phone and your computer. So perhaps that's a better shot. Tip number 5 is to set boundaries. And it might seem great to be able to work beside your partner, but unless you have boundaries in place, it's going to be a nightmare. I love working with Pato, and sometimes sometimes she asks me questions that she could figure out on her own if she spent some time, but I know the answer right away, and it only takes me a minute. But if I answer her question, it results in me not being able to work as efficiently for around 23 minutes right now. That's why it's important to set boundaries. Say, okay, if you want to ask questions, we're going to do it at this time, whatever. But just don't be open to talking with anyone when you're working. Make sure to have those boundaries. Tip number 6 is to use extensions. At work, you have that someone that makes sure you're doing your work. At home, it's just you. And this is where extensions can come in, so useful. If you want a full post or full video on the extensions I use that make me productive, that allow me to work to my full potential, I can make a video about the 14 top useful extensions I use. Make sure to let me know in the comments for that. And obviously I already mentioned extensions like MailTag and Freedom, but here's 3 more that are like my favorite. They're Clockify, Text Expander, and Grammarly. Clockify allows me to track exactly what I'm spending my time on when I'm working, and it allows me to estimate how much time it will take me to do future projects. Text Expander allows you to have code names for certain paragraphs, links, whatever you want. Our lives are so full of habits and patterns, and we often write so much the same stuff. So imagine you could just type in link 1 and 3 links appear. Grammarly on the other side obviously fixes grammar. And I write most of the day. When you want to get stuff out, when you're in the flow, you don't focus on the mistakes, because when you do, you're not going to be in the flow anymore. You're going to actually spend more time writing. Not only does grammar take time to correct, but by the time you come around to correcting, our brains will be skipping the mistakes we made. And this is where Grammarly comes in as an AI tool that's able to see all the mistakes you make. Tip number 7 is to have a schedule. The biggest mistake I made as a freelancer, I think, is not having a schedule. And it's not because I didn't get my work done. I got my work done, but I wasn't able to do anything apart from my work. I was constantly work. Part of it might have been because I wasn't as effective without a schedule, so I constantly had to do my work. And obviously, when you're in a situation, you're like, okay, do I do this or do I do my work because I need to get paid? Having a schedule is one of the most important things you can have when you're working from home. And that doesn't mean you need to have something complex. I'm very anti the complex stuff. That doesn't mean you need to have something super simple. Whatever works for you, but it is important to have a schedule, because if you don't, you will find yourself working too much without doing the things that you should be doing. I spent so much time not actually developing further, not educating myself further, because I was spending that time on work, and that's why I'm saying this. You need to have a schedule, not because it will help you work, but because it will help you do other things too that are important for your development. Tip number 8 is to remove the news. Now, if you're watching this in the future, this might not apply to you anymore because this issue might be over. But if you are watching this right now and spending time on news, you need to eliminate it. The news will have such an emotional burden on you during the day. You might not even be thinking about it, but you will be thinking about it. I'm not saying you can't read any news at all, because obviously you might want to know what's going on in your region. But eliminate the news until after you finish work. Not before, not during, after you finish work. Because otherwise, you're going to be emotionally attached to the news. And this is where, once again, extensions like Freedom come in, which can block out all of that stuff. So even if you decide to do it, you can't do it. Tip 9 is to have a monitor. If you don't already have a monitor, get your TV out and use it as your monitor. I'm telling you, this is absolutely life-saving, people. You know, it looks great to work on your laptop on a YouTube bureau, but in real life, working on a laptop isn't really that practical because, you know, working 1 hour on a laptop is fine. But if you spend hours on it, there's not enough real estate to be working as efficiently as you could. It's not that you can't get your work done because, you know, people do it all the time. But you can get so much more work done so much quicker if you have a bigger screen where you can see 2 tabs at once, where you can have a project on one side, a tab for research on the other side, where you can have a layout of a website on one side, code on the other side. It allows you to work so much more efficiently when you don't have to switch between tabs. So whatever you have to do, do it. You know, steal that TV if you have to. The Spurs aren't on right now anyway. And the last tip, tip number 10, treat it as work. As in, wake up in the morning, do your hair, put your work clothes on. Whatever you do in the morning, do it, because it once again goes back to patterns. We have the patterns. If you wake up and stay in your pajamas, that signals to your brain, oh, it's Saturday. It's not work day, it's Saturday. Let me be chill. That's why it's so important to actually treat it as work when you are working, because it's all about the patterns. And that's it. These 10 tips, you know, I've been applying them for years. You know, there's a lot more tips I can give. If you like them, make sure to let me know. Maybe check me out on LinkedIn. But these 10 tips will help you do way more when working from home. And you know, it's a tough time right now, but perhaps this is the perfect time to get into this freelance thingy. And this series is going to be coming out weekly, so perhaps join in on this channel. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed. So perhaps join in on this channel, you know, it's just a subscribe button. Make sure to let me know if you found this informative, what you would like to see on the series. And you know, this is the Pato and Michael channel. And you know, on this channel, we kind of do things differently. This is a little channel about freelancing. This is a channel about documentaries, kind of video making, kind of photography, and it's a channel about football. Pato is a professional football player. I'm a football player without a professional status. So we love talking about that stuff too. And yeah, for now, this has been Michael Smolsky, and we will see you on the next video coming to the cinemas near you.